Jaya Nilo Premadana Karuna Prachur Heno Prabhu Kota Kela Acharya Thakur Kaha Mora Swarup Rupa Kaha Sanatan Kaha Dasa Raghunatha Patita Pavan Kaha Mora Bhatta Juga Kaha Kavira Eka Kali Kota Gela Goranatara Bhashane Kuti Mata Annale Pashibo Gauranga Gunera Nidhi Kota Gele Pabo Se Sabba Sangira Sange Je Koilo Bilas Jai Koilo Bila Se Sangana Paya Kande Narottamada Anjaya Nilo Premadana Karuna Prachur Heno Prabhu Kota Gela Acharya Thakur Jaya Vaishnav Thakur, Vaishnav Thakur, Vaishnav Thakur, Jaya Vaishnav Thakur. Shall I read the English, Marsh? Shall I read the English? He who brought the treasure of divine love and who was filled with compassion and mercy. Where has such a personality as Srinivasacharya gone? Where are my Swarup Damodar and Rupa Goswami? Where is Sanatan? Where is Raghunath Das, the savior of the fallen? Where are my Raghunath Bhatta and Gopal Bhatta? And where is Krishnadas Kaviraj? Where did Lord Gauranga, the great dancer, suddenly go? I will smash my head against a rock and enter into fire. Where will I find Lord Gauranga, the reservoir of all wonderful qualities? Being unable to obtain the association of Lord Gauranga, accompanied by all of these devotees in whose association he performed his pastimes, Narottam Das simply weeps.
Hey Prabhus, we have a heater that works. In the Detroit temple, in the winter, where it's a real winter, the only room they heated in the morning was the temple room. There was full attendance for the entire Mangalarti. People got up and went to Mangalarti just to be warm. It's true. They were there for greeting the deities. They were there for the whole thing. So, and when Prabhupada visited Detroit a number of times. Here, you can put that right here. I don't want to make you just, you can put there on, because I'm going to adjust things. Thank you. He heard the devotees coughing. And he asked, why are you coughing? And the devotee said, oh, everything's fine. Prabhupada actually inquired. He said, you don't have warm clothing? You don't, he was concerned. So the thing is, we shouldn't be freezing cold. I'm affected because I'm an old man and I'm skinny and I have poor circulation. But you guys are pretty well bundled up. So don't think, oh, well, we don't want to spend Krishna's money, because that's usually why devotees are, noble and cautious about spending Krishna's money. But it's solar heat. So it doesn't cost us much more to run the heater. So don't be cold unnecessarily. Don't think, well, I'm an austere brahmachari and my teeth are chattering and I can't do my service because I'm hacking and coughing. And no. At least the temple room, and there's central heating in the ashram. Prabhupada said heat can always be tolerated, but cold is devastating. So don't be shy. Use the heater. Don't get sick. Be intelligent. Okay. Now, do we also have a Pushpanjali today? And what time does that start? So 11:50, we gather here together and offer flowers. And the other thing I wanted to say was that that was a wonderful Rath Yatra yesterday. And I was up sitting on the cart by Krishna's grace. So I could see the response of the people. Because I could see both sides, I could see the whole thing. And they just loved the cart. I mean, those were our people. That was a nice crowd. And it was packed, full of people. I mean, there's every endeavor is covered with fault, like fire covered by smoke. So we were stuck by that jazz band. Okay, fine, But once we got going, and I can tell you, Jugal Kishore was saying, because he was taking pictures, people were like, and then they heard the kirtan, and they started. We got the best response, because I could watch the response of the fire truck honking their horn, and whoever. That didn't get a rise out of them. They got a real rise out of the. So thanks to Balaram, that has been something we've been lacking for years, is a nice Rath Yatra, because we could never figure out a parade route. I don't know why. I mean, I couldn't figure it out, but Balaram Prabhu, as our temple president, figured out a fantastic route, arranged the cart, got us in there. Of course, ably assisted by Sankarshan with Prashadam and Mukunda with logistics. It was anyway, that didn't happen easily. And we've now got our spot. Every year we'll improve it. And we'll have a blissful Rath Yatra. So when you see Balaram, and it's human nature. I want to get to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur. But it is human nature. People complain easily. So, I mean, it's in all the complaint departments and, you know, in consumer reports, and they say everybody complains. I think the ratio is 7 to 1. For every appreciation, you're going to get 7 complaints. So, you know, if the prasadam is late or, you know, whatever it is, something's not good, hey, Balaram, you know. But how about tell him thank you for that wonderful festival? And it was a fantastic preaching. Next year, we get little book, you know, packs like they have in L.A., we pack up some peanuts and raisins. They won't let us do that anymore in L.A. Yes, too many people got hit in the head from throwing off the cart. Yeah, it's true. And, you know, people have peanut reactions, you know, allergies to peanuts. But, you know, so we have to figure out what it is. But we can pack up something small, you know, and have a ton of those and have book packs. Those people will go ballistic, you know, in appreciation. Okay, so today you have, I got issues, but can you say the English translation for Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's pranam mantras? And you've got the mic there, but we should repeat that. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vasaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharni Nirvasesha Sunyavadi Paskachadya Satarnani Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Dvaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. You have it? All right, well, if you find it, we'll do it later on. So, today is the disappearance day of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And it is said that the disappearance day is more important than the appearance day. Anybody see my glasses? No, I think I brought them over here. Well, that's unusual. We had them. You see them over there? They're where? That's it. Yeah, why don't you take a look? That would be unusual. Acha. And I'm going to find my way out of illusion, back home, back to Godhead. And I can't even find my glasses. What do you think? Does that make sense? I don't need a guru. I don't need, you know, Siksha and Diksha Guru and the Parampara. What kind of arrogance and foolishness is that?
You let me know when you want me to read them.
Go ahead.
Okay. All right. Just in English. I offer my respectful obeisance to the divine grace Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, who is very dear to Lord Krishna on this earth, having taken shelter at his lotus feet. I offer my respectful obeisance to Sri Varshabhanavi Devi Dayata Das. The name of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati means the servant of the beloved of Radharani, who's the daughter of Vrishabhanu. and who is favored by Srimati Radharani, and who is the ocean of transcendental mercy and the deliverer of the science of Krishna. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you, the personified energy of Sri Chaitanya's mercy, who delivered devotional service enriched with conjugal love of Radha and Krishna, coming exactly in the line of the revelation of Sri Rupa Goswami. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you, who are the personified teachings of Lord Chaitanya. You are the deliverer of the fallen souls. You do not tolerate any statement against the teachings of devotional service enunciated by Srila Rupa Goswami. Prabhupada.
So Prabhupada was asked one time about what was the nature and activities of his spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur. And Prabhupada said, what can I say? He was a Vaikuntha man. So I thought for today I would read, this is from Bhakti Chaitanya Maharaj, a member of our ISKCON's governing body in GBC for all kinds of places. South Africa, Lithuania, you know, like that. And also from Bhakti Chauru Maharaj, who has passed away, wonderful devotees. And also from Janani Vas. So these are from classes they gave in Mayapur. And I just took notes over the years. Jayapataka Maharaj, if I didn't say it. So this is a condensement or a selective of pastimes of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And the idea is to give you just a taste of what a powerful personality. So here we go. When he was born, when he came out of the womb, his umbilical cord, you know, the connecting to the mother, was over his shoulder. And it left a mark on his body for the rest of his life. So the joke and the appreciation, he was the only real born Brahmin. You know, by samskara. Everyone's Jamati Jayati Sudra. Everyone's born a Sudra, actually. And by samskaras, by purificatory processes, one's purified. But Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur really was born, it was a stamp from the Supreme. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur had a dream that Lord Jagannath appeared to him in his dream. This is in Mayapur. And Lord Jagannath told Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, I didn't bring you just here for legal work. You know, he was one of the top magistrates in the British Raja's governing system. It's a whole story, but that's another topic. But he was stationed in Mayapur. He actually told them he'd quit if they didn't transfer him to Mayapur. So they worked it out, and he was in charge of the district of Nadia. But he had this dream that Lord Jagannath said, I didn't just bring you here for mundane, administration. I brought you here to glorify the Holy Dham, spread the glories of the Holy Dham, and spread the mission of Lord Chaitanya. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur said back to Lord Jagannath, and Prabhupada tells the story, he said back to Lord Jagannath, he said, it is too difficult. People are so fallen in this age that I can't do it alone. You have to send somebody from your personal camp. You've got to send me somebody from your because I can't do it alone. So Lord Jagannath said, you pray to you pray to Bimala Prasad. Bimala Prasad, it's a whole story, but You pray, that's a form of Durga, the wife of Lord Shiva. That's the whole of the story. We don't have time. But she got the special mercy from Narada Muni of Lord Jagannath's Prasadam. So he's asking Bhaktivinoda Thakur, I want someone from your camp. So I want some prasadam from you, from Jagannath. Otherwise, I can't do it alone. So as Bimala Prasad got Durga, who's worshipped there in Jagannath, she gets prasadam first. Because there's, Hanuman, there's Garuda, there's different great Vaishnavas that are worshipped there in the Jagannath Puri compound. But she gets it first. So he said, Lord Jagannath told Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, you pray to Bimala Prasad, this form of Durga, who gets my mercy first, and you ask her, and she'll give you some mercy. So that's why initially Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur was known as Bimala Prasad. He was confirming that. So when he was 3 years old, he's a child, and he's running through the house with his friends, and there was some mangoes sitting on the counter, and he took one and had some piece, shared it with his friend, ate a mango. And he's 3 or 4 years old. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, his father, said to him, oh, this is not good. This was boga. It was meant for Lord Jagannath. You've eaten the Lord's prasadam before it was offered. 3 or 4 years old, he took it so seriously that he never ate mango fruit again. I mean, that's like not eating, in America, not eating an apple or not eating an orange, or of course a mango is much nicer. Never had a mango again. Finally, his disciples convinced him that at least you take a little green mango chutney. So he would take a little, because it's very good for digestion. He would take a little bit of green mango, but he never took a ripe mango again. So that gives you an idea of his determination. By 7 years old, he had memorized the entire Bhagavad Gita. 7 years old, memorized Bhagavad Gita, and could comment on the verses. He didn't just learn like a parrot, which is something wonderful alone, but he could explain the verses at 7 years old. When Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur would give class from a small child for the rest of his father's life, he would listen with rapt attention whenever Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur gave class. He would sometimes argue later on with Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, father and son, they were working together for spreading the mission. He was editing Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's books at 11 years old. And just imagine the brilliance of this. He had a photographic memory. Prabhupada said anything he read, anything he'd read 30 years earlier, 40 years earlier, oh, this kid in and out, in and out, in and out, can't happen. Let's try it out, but in and out can't happen. Okay, Hare Krishna. What to do? Jugala Kishore, tell her she can sit in the hall with him. That way she's warm and can hear class. We just don't want to abandon her to the cold. But in and out is too much. Okay, thanks. Okay. Oh, they used to argue sometimes. And he would call his father, because his wife, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's first wife died. You told her? Okay. First wife died. So he got remarried. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur used to sometimes call him, what is it, Stri Sangi? What did he call? Which means you're just attached to women. When he was 7 years old, he was given a shalagram shila to worship. And then when he was, I'm trying to look, I don't have the year here. I think when he was 11, he was given a kurma shila. And the shalagram shila was to fix him in devotion. And then the kurma, because kurma is, you know, a tortoise living in the water, and on an esoteric level, you worship a kurma shila to get the ras, or the juice, from Madhurya Ras. So he's 7 years old, worshiping a shalagram shila, very, very strictly. And at 11, he was also given by his father kurma shila to bring out his Madhurya Ras appreciation. He entered Sanskrit school at 19 in Calcutta, memorized the grammar in 6 months. You know, Prabhupada says just to memorize the grammar can take you 12 years. He learned in 6 months. Some of the other major points he learned in 7 days. The school was somewhat on the Mayavadi side. The teacher said, don't go so fast. If you're very careful, you'll obtain moksha. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur at that time said, then from this day forward, I reject you. My goal is not to attain liberation or master grammar. My goal is to obtain pure Krishna prema. He challenged the teachers in this way, and they had a debate. He defeated them publicly and left the Sanskrit school forever. After Sanskrit school, he worked for the king of Tripura for some time. He was actually teaching he was a tutor for the royal children. Oh, and he also, because he's there in the palace, he sussed out that there was corruption and stealing and mismanagement of the kingdom. And he revealed it all to the king. And the king was so grateful, he gave him a lifetime. He said, you're too intelligent. Your work is too important. You don't need to work for me as a clerk. You go and do your preaching work. I give you a lifetime pension. So he gave him a lifetime pension. Later on, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur didn't take it, but he took it initially and used it for his preaching work. In his astrological work, Surya Siddhanta, anyway, there's so much to say. The Surya Siddhanta was, it's the basis it's the Vedic Shastra that explains astronomy and astrology. But just like we have leap year, you know, every 4 years, they got to readjust, you know, because the calculation is too complicated and like that. It's not erratic, but there's 365 days. Sometimes there's 366. I think it's every 4 years. There's the Gregorian calendar, and I think there's the Eastern Orthodox calendar. So it's really hard to line the whole thing up. And every now and then it needs a readjustment. It had been so long since a proper adjustment had been done, 400 years, something like that, that nobody could figure it out. Nobody could touch it. It was just like a knot, just so tangled. He figured the whole thing out, adjusted the whole thing, and gave them the key, you know, the periodic reboot, how you adjust the thing. That's when, you know, devotees say, and I'm going to offend some people, but so be it, because Prabhupada said it, devotees are, well, I'm in a Rahu period, so I have trouble following the regular principles. Or, well, I'm in this period. Or, well, and Prabhupada didn't buy any of that. And the devotee said, well, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur was an astrologer. Prabhupada said, yes, but he gave it up. When he got initiated by Srila Gauranga Das Babaji, he gave it up. Prabhupada said, with one slap, Krishna can take care of 100 Rahu planets. So we don't calculate, we can use it, but we don't guide our life by it. So he discovered a planet. He was the first one to discover Pluto. How about that? He observed, this is the way he observed Chaturmas. Chaturmas is the 4 months of the rainy season when sannyasis can't travel in India. So they don't get, fat and lazy just sitting in their room and, because they're waiting for the rainy season to end and then travel. So there's an austerity added. This is how he observed Chaturmasya. He slept on the ground. He ate only khichdi, no spices, no veg, or no salt. He would put the khichdi on the ground, mix it with the dirt, and then eat it. I mean, in other words, it was just for sustenance. There was no question of any kind of enjoyment. Rather, the eating was an austerity. Now, for those of you, and then you, with your hands behind your back, and you bow down. There's a name for it, but I don't have it here. That you only have one go at it. You bow down, whatever you can eat, the one time with your hands behind your back that you can gobble up, then you stop. That's all you eat for the day. No veggies, no salt, no spices, mixed with dirt, and you bend down like that. And he did it for the full 4 months. Prabhupada told the story. I saw him do it. And then Prabhupada said, but I never observed it. To give us a little relief, he said, I never did it. So don't worry, brahmacharis. Srila Gauranga Das Babaji in 1898 came from Vrindavan and different places in Nadia. He came to Godruma Dweep, and he became very close with Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur. Srila Gauranga Das Babaji, so Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur said, please initiate my son. Srila Gauranga Das Babaji said, I initiated one disciple and they cheated me. I'm not doing it again. So I never knew this. This is the reason that Srila Gauranga Das Babaji gave, that he didn't accept any disciples. The only disciple he ever accepted was Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur. But he said, I initiated one, he cheated me, I'm not doing it again. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati approached Srila Gauranga Das Babaji a number of times. 3 times he rejected him. Srila Gauranga rejected him. First time he said, I don't do it, this is the reason. Bhakti Vinod Thakur said, go again. The next time he said, I'll ask Mahaprabhu. If Mahaprabhu says, then I'll do it. Next time he came back, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur came back. He said, I forgot to ask him. So he just, kept him at bay like that. Then he finally, Srila Gauranga Das Babaji quoted from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur quoted from Narottam Das Thakur's several of his songs that without initiation, what is the use of human form of life? And he said, if you won't initiate me, I'm going to commit suicide because what is the use? What is the use of living? That's how important, and the human form of life is, and the perfection of all the samskaras, is to take initiation from a bona fide spiritual master. Oh, he said, this is what he said, quoting Narottam Das Thakur, that without your mercy, what is the use of my life? And he was crying. So Srila Bhakti Srila Gauranga Das Babaji thought, here's a bona fide candidate. He won't cheat me. From Bhakti Charu Maharaj, he was very tall, and you see those pictures? I'll bring those over sometime. He was very tall and thin, and you see him with all of his Bengali disciples. Bengalis are usually pretty, and he's towering, He's obviously such a powerful person. He had 3 lines on his neck, 3 lines on his abdomen. He had, and I forget the Sanskrit name, but Mahaprabhu also had this, that his hands were as long, went down to his knees, his arms and his hands. It's considered a very auspicious sign. There was an astrologer who did his chart, a famous astrologer, and he said, in my entire life, I have never seen a chart so auspicious. Gives you an indication. So here again, at 6 years old, he was given the Nrsimha mantra to clear the path. At 8 years old, he was given the Kurma mantra to relish the ras. So in addition to those Shalagram Shilas, he was given mantras and so many things. He was being prepared for his work by his father. At 17 years old, he was editing Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's books. At 17 years old, he started what was called the August Assembly. This was amongst all of his scholarly friends and, fellow classmates. And it was those who took a vow to to remain celibate all of their life. It was called the August Assembly. Like, household life, Prabhupada says, why, if you can avoid it, why get entangled? So that's why you take sannyas at towards the later stage of your life, you disentangle yourself. Although Prabhupada said a good wife is a fort against Maya. I've got my wife, I'm not looking at this one and that one, so by all means, Prabhupada said get married. Don't drink water under the river on a fast day. Don't be cheating and thinking about it. Get married. So it's a protection. It's a bona fide ashram and necessary for most people. Would you get him some water? Get him a cup of water. He'll do it. Get you a cup of water. So he started this assembly. There were about a couple hundred people in this who'd taken this vow. By the time he got to 40, the only one remaining celibate was Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur. There was, in 1898, he met Srila Gauranga Das Babaji. 2 years later, he took initiation, and in 1905, he took a vow to chant 1 billion names. That means 192 rounds a day for 10 years. And he was in a hut. You can see that place where he took that vow when you go to Mayapur. He was in a hut, the roof leaked, and his family would bring him a little pack of prasadam. And he ordered them that it got smaller and smaller and smaller. I don't know what was finally in that little pack of prasadam, but so you can imagine 198 rounds a day. There was nothing in Mayapur at the time. He was in a simple bamboo hut. When it rained, the roof leaked, and he sat under an umbrella chanting his japa. In 1915, he launched his preaching mission in Calcutta. Srila Gauranga Das Babaji told him, do not go to the capital of Kali. That's what he called, you stay here. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur offered back, with your feet on my head, I will smash Kali. So don't go to Kali's capital. If I'm completely surrendered to you, my Guru Maharaj, then I will defeat Kali. In 1915, Srila Gauranga Das Babaji and Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur left this world. In 1922, he met Srila Prabhupada at Ultadanga. Prabhupada was 26 years old. Prabhupada told Bhakti Charu Maharaj, and this is what Bhakti Charu Maharaj is saying, that after that one meeting, I was completely sold to my Guru Maharaj's mission. That we've read. Oh, when the Gaudiya Math moved to the new marble temple in Bagh Bazaar, they were living in it. You've seen the pictures. A simple, still very nice, but a simple building, that Ultadanga Road. If they collected 250 rupees a day, it was considered they were doing well. They could cover their expenses. A very rich landowner, disciple of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur, paid for this huge, beautiful, you can still see it. It's a beautiful marble temple. But the disciples began arguing this and that. But when they opened, he was the first person, one of the first dozen people to own a car in India. They used it for preaching. How are they going to, you can walk there and you can do one program a day and walk back. Or you can have a car and do so many programs, just like Prabhupada flew in the airplanes. They asked Prabhupada one time, where do you live? Prabhupada said with resignation, in a 747. Because Prabhupada had, a heart condition, and it was hard for him to fly in those pressurized cabins. So, but when they opened this new temple, he was criticized. Oh, you've got a marble temple, and you should be sitting under a tree. Sit next to him and help him, because he was up late last night. So when they moved the deities from Ultadanga to the new marble, they had kirtan, and they moved the deities with kirtan. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur quoted a song. The verse is, the sages apparently engage in mundane work, but their preaching is the real Raganuga Bhakti. So this was his Yukta Vairagya. He, from Rupa Goswami, and he infused it into Prabhupada, and that's why we have ISKCON all around the world. They asked, well, to finish this point, to use Krishna's things in Krishna's service, to not use Krishna's things in Krishna's service is actually offensive. If it's a thing that belongs to someone, should be used in that person's service. So to use Krishna's, this was an Elks Lodge. Now it's a Hare Krishna temple. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was studying grammar in school, when he was growing up. And he used to use Prabhupada said, I heard him say it. Prabhupada said, I understood 1/10 of what my spiritual master said. And what he said, that 1/10 I understood, I'm giving you 1/10. So just imagine, And he used to use very sophisticated language. Now, part of that was because the Vaishnavas were smoking hookahs and and had 5 wives and imitating rasa dance, and it was just begging for their life. You see it in Thailand. They go out and beg for a couple hours, and the rest of the day they stay, and eat and get fat and play their radio. I've seen it. So not all of them. There's many wonderful Buddhist monks, but so the same thing was there in Vaishnavism. And so he used very sophisticated language to show that this is scholarly, this is deep, that this is sophisticated. The other reason was he said, I've got to choose just the right word, that he could express himself perfectly. So that's why he used such very sophisticated language. Oh, this is sweet. When he would go, because you have a picture of him being austere, which he was, profoundly austere. But he used to, when he would go on his morning walk, he would keep sugar candies. Those little wrap lodges, with little, I don't know what, but anyway, he used to carry sugar candies, hard candy, in his pocket. And he would give it to the Muslim children. Because mostly in Mayapur in those days was mostly Muslim, and it still is largely. So he would give them all little, bits of candy. They loved him. And later on, this is far out, when he wanted to build every Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur, Srila Prabhupada, they've each made it one of their lives, one of the purposes of their life, to improve Mayapur, to expand the facilities and glories of Mayapur. Look at Prabhupada with the TOVP and what's happening. This is one of the missions of the Acharyas. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur discovered the birthplace and built that beautiful little, it's sweet, it's a little rendition of where Mahaprabhu was born. So then the next thing was Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur built that beautiful temple with Gauranga deities and made his headquarters there, established different temples. He also expanded. Now to do that, just like Jiva Goswami arranged for the purchase of Radhakund, you've got to buy the land. But it's a Muslim neighborhood. So they boycotted him. They wouldn't sell any land. So what to do? Just like they tried to boycott Prabhupada. That's a whole other story. So the people, there was 2 Muslim farmers that sold the land for the Chaitanya Math in Mayapur and for Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's headquarters, where we had several presses all going at the same time, the Briyat Mridanga. So that land was sold to him by Muslim farmers who, as children, he'd given them candy. So they thought, no, this is a saintly person. We're not, So they actually once broke the boycott. And later on, some of the other children who'd gotten that candy donated land. Actually, part of the Chaitanya Math, they just gave Muslim farmers to a allegedly Hindu mission, donated the land. That's how Prabhupada said that he used to walk around when in the Indian winter, and at night when all the brahmacharis were asleep, and he'd fix their mosquito net, he'd tuck their blanket. When they were sleeping, they didn't even know he was doing it. So we know the heavy side, and rightly so. But he also, what is it, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Soft as a rose, heavy as a thunderbolt. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta had that nature also, both sides. Oh, there was a big when Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur found the birthplace. That's a whole other story, but we don't have time to go into it. We're going to go till before 9 o'clock because we don't have breakfast today. So they, what was I going to say? So he discovered it, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. That's a whole wonderful story. Jagannath Das Babaji confirmed it. But then there was, because the other side of the Ganga, anyone who's been to Mayapur, on the other side of the Ganga is that where they said the appearance place of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was. Because, you know, you say this is where Abe Lincoln slept here. Okay, you get a little gift shop, you have a little restaurant, you have a hotel, you make money off it. So they were making money off saying this is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's birthplace. But the advanced pure Vaishnavas said, we just don't get the vibe. We don't, you know, spiritually, we don't feel it. Bhaktivinoda Thakur found it, confirmed by Jagannath Das Babaji. That's a whole wonderful story. It went to court later on. There was a challenge. No, you gotta, that's not the right place. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur took him to court. And the evidence he used was that it describes in the Chaitanya Bhagavat and the Chaitanya Charitamrita that from the birthplace, you know, Srivasanga, where Srivas and, you know, what is it, Bhaktivinoda, Advaitacharya, they all had kirtan there. They would lock the doors so the Muslims weren't upset, and they would have kirtan there. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would mystically appear as a small baby. You know, how do you get here? And you should go home. Where's your mother? And he said, oh, you were calling me. So they, you know, he hadn't revealed himself. So he was just, you know, a little baby. So they, you know. So anyway, in the court case, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that here's Chaitanya Bhagavat, you all accepted in those. Here's Chaitanya Charitamrita, you all accepted is accurate. They both say the same thing, that from Srivasanga, at the home of Lord Chaitanya, Jagannath Mishra and Sachi Mata, he could hear the kirtan. If it was miles away, across the river, they wouldn't have been able to hear the kirtan. So it must be where we've discovered it, which is right next to Srivasanga. And he won the court case. They used to get 3 to 4 bullock carts full of mail every day at the, and I wanted to say that too. In that court case, we'll get back to that in a second, but in that court case, the catalyst for the thing was that he wanted to change the name of the post office currently by where he said this is the birthplace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and this is where Bhaktivinoda Thakur built that you know, little replica of the home of Jagannath Das Babaji and Jagannath Mishra. So there was constant challenges because they wanted to get back that with the birth sites over here and we want the money. So one of the things he did to literally, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, to literally get Mayapur on the map, they're under the British Raj, he wanted to change the post office, that's not Sri Mayapur Dham post office, it's over here. Because that way that would legally establish Mayapur. You know, this is the world you've got to deal with. He was a most practical, you know, what do they call it? Yukta Vairagya, using the court system to stamp forever that this is Mayapur. So that was one of the arguments he used, the one about the distance. Where was the case for that? Oh, the viceroy actually came. And that's when, to settle the case, because Prabhupada says you put 2 Bengalis together, they'll start a fight. So you can imagine the two sides split, and it was quite a hot item. There was a program that the Gaudiya Math, Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur's movement, they were invited to speak at a big program of Ramakrishna, who Prabhupada said had so much sex with his wife he became impotent. And then he would say, "Oh, she's my mother." That's when he started worshiping, So he's the one who says, his disciple, there's many paths, many ways you take. What is it? Matata? Yatamatapata. That whatever path you take, they're all bona fide. Real right. He took all of India to hell. So his mission, the Ramakrishna mission, is holding a program inviting Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, his Gaudiya Math. And it was a big program for them. It was a big fundraiser. They would hold kirtan and give katha. They were getting members from it. It was a big deal. There was a young brahmachari is standing in line, serving prasadam. Simple, innocent brahmachari. Huge Bengali crowd. I don't know the number, but you can imagine at least a couple hundred. So one of the big donors to the Ramakrishna mission, he's getting his prasadam going down the line. And he says, "And what does your Guru Maharaj think of Ramakrishna?" And the innocent young brahmachari said, "My Guru Maharaj says he's a fool and a rascal." And the thing just burst into two different sides. Prabhupada tells a story. Achyutananda actually told me this story, that they actually literally had to run for their life. Just run out of the Ramakrishna mission, run down the road and get out of there. Hightailed it out of there because they were going to string them up. Bengalis, they're hot-tempered. So generally speaking, when they got back to you see that at the home of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, that nice English-looking house in Mayapur. So they beat a retreat there. They grabbed this brahmachari by the ear and dragged him in front of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and said, "This foolish brahmachari, he's ruined our program. He spoiled everything." Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, "What did you do?" He said that Ramakrishna is a fool and a rascal, and the whole place erupted into a riot. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, "Very good." Praised the brahmachari. He was very happy. They used to call Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur a hatchet preacher, because he would just chop and cut and smash. Prabhupada said, "Well, can we do that?" Prabhupada said, "First you'll be able to talk to Lord Chaitanya." So, we have to we can follow in the footsteps of not compromising. We used to have, when I was a brahmachari, we would go out on book distribution, and the temple president would give us the verse of a day. And that was our verse, our theme for preaching that day on book distribution. And in those days, we'd have a Harinam party, and then the devotees would just distribute books in the radius of the Harinam party. So one day he gave us the verse, Avajante mam mudha, that if you don't surrender to Krishna, you're a mudha, a fool. And all over downtown Detroit, you could see brahmacharis. They had some businessman by the tie, and you knew what they were telling him, that. So, after that, our temple president was a little more selective in what verses he chose. So we have that mood. We do not criticize. But Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur called Lord Chaitanya's mission humble persuasion. We fall down at their feet so many times, and we say, oh, you're a great scholar, you're a gentleman. Now, then they open, oh, then what do you have to say? After you praise them 1,000 times, then you tell them, dear sir, please forget everything you learned. Forget everything and take Mahaprabhu's mission. And Prabhupada called that, and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur called it, humble persuasion. So, we don't compromise, we don't water down, we go to the point, but you have to be smart enough to figure out where the person's at, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was criticized by one of the top Sanskrit scholar at Calcutta University, which at the time was one of the best Sanskrit schools in the world, right up there with Oxford. It's one of the best in the world. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Oh, no, they criticized Bhakti Vinod Thakur. That's what happened. They criticized Bhakti Vinod Thakur. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta for just being, a mundane magistrate and, a sentimentalist and, yeah. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, to defend Bhakti Vinod Thakur, challenged that top scholar to a debate. In those days, they didn't have television, they didn't have, maybe they had radio in those days, but they didn't have television. And the entertainment was often debate, like they have the Lincoln-Douglas debates. There's famous debates. And they would travel all over the country and debate, and people would buy tickets. It was a big deal. He challenged this, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, challenged this scholar who criticized Bhakti Vinod Thakur. All the glitterati, the top, the cream of society are there in this big auditorium, Calcutta University, one of the best in India. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur defeated him so powerfully. He's thinking he's going to walk in and wipe this little Vaishnava brahmachari. I don't think he'd taken sannyas off the map. Maybe he'd taken sannyas, but what does he know? And when he got into the debate, bam, 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 he was hit so hard, defeated so badly in front of all of the important people in Calcutta that he lost control of his bowels and passed, you can imagine, right there behind the podium. You know how hard you have to be hit to do that? I saw Prabhupada do this with a scholar from Caltech, had come from Caltech. This is when the temple was on La Cienega. I saw it personally. And the guy had come, some of his students had come and heard Prabhupada talk and come to the temple and were impressed. And went back and told their Caltech, and we'll end here, went back and told their Caltech professor, oh, we've met this, A.C. Bhaktivedanta, and it's such a nice talk, and, we finally understand what the Vedas are about. All the politely saying all the rubbish you've been shoveling on us doesn't make any sense at all. Now we know it. So he came to challenge Prabhupada. Prabhupada gave his talk. Prabhupada sitting up, it was this low stage, and there was Jagannath. Anyway, Prabhupada was sitting on this raised dais on his Vyasasana. The guy was the first to ask a question. And he gave this, like Dr. Stahl, the same thing. This is a sentimental understanding. Vedanta's for, philosophy, Vedanta Sutra. And you're just sentimentalists. And Bhakti, we all know Bhakti is for old lady and men who cry. That's all, the whole thing, right? Prabhupada didn't even look at him. Prabhupada didn't even give him time of day. Prabhupada was chanting japa and looking at Lord Jagannath. The guy's sitting out here, and he was just, wouldn't even give him the time of day. Finally, Prabhupada interrupted him, said, "Are you finished?" The man said, "Well, I actually will." And he went, Prabhupada let him go on for about another 5 minutes. And then Prabhupada said, "Are you finished?" He said, "Yes, Swamiji." And Prabhupada hit him so hard philosophically. And the man was criticizing Bhagavad Gita as they do. Well, that's just from Mahabharata, and it's not one of the Upanishads. And, that whole thing they give, So without quoting Bhagavad Gita, this Upanishad, the Vedanta Sutra, the guy was standing quite I swear to you, I saw it with my own eyes. The guy was standing arrogantly, then his shoulders kind of began to droop. Then he sat down. And Prabhupada went on for about 10 minutes. If he could have melted into the floor, because he was so smashed. And then Prabhupada had his hand in the bead bag the whole time. Finally, Prabhupada, finished. And Prabhupada said, "Do you have any other question?" And the man meekly raised his hand and said, "Swami, can we have kirtan?" In other words, he admitted defeat. He was admitting defeat. So you can imagine Srila Bhaktisiddhanta hitting this. So that gives you a flavor. We're going to end here. What I'll do is maybe next Sunday. Well, who gives class tomorrow? Maybe we can shuffle around, because I've got a ton of far out stuff. So because we're already doing it, we'll do it tomorrow. You and I will sort it out. But I wanted to say one other thing. Prabhupada said, because I was listening to a lecture yesterday, Prabhupada said the essence of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's mission, the Gaudiya Math. And then Prabhupada paused and said, actually the essence of Vaishnavism, our activities, not our philosophy, but it's part of it, you can't, one and the same, but is para upakara, to do welfare for others. We are meant to do, and what does it say? You feed a man for a day, you've solved his problems. You feed a man, you've solved his problems for a day. You teach him to farm, you've solved his problems for life. So, okay, fine. We have eye camps, we have hospitals. We do things like that. But that's just like training wheels on the bicycle. It's if you can't see, you can't read Bhagavad Gita. But if you get your eyes fixed and you go to Bollywood cinemas and read mundane magazines, what's better? You were blind. Sorry. But so if you don't, without the essence of delivering the message, the purpose of human life and how to develop bhakti and go back home, back to Godhead, that is real welfare work. It solves the problems for life. So Prabhupada said that this was the mood of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur, how to save these people. And it is Prabhupada's mood as an old man, 2 heart attacks, no help, no money, no friends, all alone. Prabhupada's observation when he arrived in New York City, he was not impressed by the skyscrapers and Wall Street, and he said the whole place smells like dog stool. So Prabhupada came. And that's the mood of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. It's the mood of Srila Prabhupada. It is the path back home, back to Godhead, expressing that mood, putting aside what we're doing with our own life. We could be doing so many things. But I heard Prabhupada say it, give this one life to Krishna. We've had so many lives. Just adding up the human form, forget all the 8,400,000 species. We've had one life, give this. We've had so many. You know, if you've got 100 sticks of gum, you give one away. Big deal. What's the loss? So give one life to spread, to giving mercy to others. Instead of having a wasn't the Grinch stole Christmas and how his heart was, tiny, shrunk? Instead of having a shrunken, self-centered heart, what do I want? What do I need? Okay, maybe add my wife. No, okay, I got a couple kids. And that's all I'm thinking about? What kind of life is that? You're not happy. They're not happy. What to speak of solving the problems of life? So, in the mood of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur, don't just sit on the edge. Don't just be a congregational member. I chant my rounds. I like Krishna. I agree Krishna's God. I follow the 4 regs. Okay, good. But what about putting your shoulder to the wheel? What about giving this life? One life. That's all it is. Give one life to Mahaprabhu's movement. You'll go back to Godhead, and you'll help so many other people go back to Godhead. So Prabhupada said that is the essence of the mood of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So we can end there, and we'll pick up tomorrow. Thank you, Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.